I need more tangible assets instead of assets. I need people in the locker room as opposed to written down on paper where they're supposed to draft. It's all cute, fine, and dandy, but are we just giving up on this year?
Welcome back. The middle, Barrett Brooks, Dan Sileo. Wait till I give you this here, man. This is... By the way, Tyrann Mathieu, job interview was on a Zoom call. I'll get to that here in a minute, okay? Yeah. Dude, on a Zoom call. All right. Anyway, so I pulled an article here that had the numbers here all put together with Pro Football Focus, and I want to read you this here. And this does not go into last year's draft because it's too early to evaluate last year's draft. This is prior to going into last year's draft. So this is the 4 previous years from last year's draft. And this is what they said. Evaluating NFL draft prospects isn't easy to do, but some teams are certainly better than others. In an attempt to measure all of the 32 teams, we have created a spreadsheet. Pro Football Focus has done this. You need to read more about the process in which the spreadsheet is put together here on success rates, how NFL teams stack up versus one another. For those who just want some of the basics here are the numbers. Hit percentage for NFL teams, worst to the best. Well, let's start. Last 4 years, Saints have the best draft at 38%. Chiefs are second at 28. Ravens. And by the way, look how low these numbers are. Okay, 27%. So I just want you to put in perspective. Howie has all these draft choices. And know this. The Saints over the last 4 years have a 38% hit rate. You're not even 50%. So if you have 10 draft choices, 5 are going to suck.
Right.
So you're telling me just because we have all these draft choices, that's not going to translate into winning football just by the percentages alone. I mean, you're playing the percentage game in the NFL. You're trying to alleviate mistakes. The Bucs are 5th with 20. Look at the Bucs. The Bucs are at 24%, and they're 5th. Okay, so let's go down to the bottom. The last 4 teams, Seahawks, 14% hit rate. Texans, 14% hit rate, 30th. The Cardinals, 8% hit rate. The Eagles are the worst team in the NFL the last 4 years drafting, according to Pro Football Focus, at 7.46 success rate. That's not even one. That's barely one player, dude.
Well, Andre Diller's the only guy from his draft class that's on the team. The only guy. No. I'm sorry. Derek Barnett. He's the only guy still left.
Derek Barnett, we all know, only reason he's on the team is because how we drafted him.
Right.
Here's another one for you. Star player percentages for NFL teams, worst to best, guys who ended up going on over the last 4 years to be a star. The top team, Saints, 21%. Think about that, 21%. Basically, it's an 80% failure rate that you're going to find a star in your draft. Bills are 21%. They're second. Niners are 19%, and they're third on having star rates over the last 4 years. Let's go down to the end here. The Jags are the worst, 3%. Tied for 30th, Cardinals and Dolphins. And then there they are at 29. The Philadelphia Eagles at 3.57%. Now, Barrett, make me feel good about Howie drafting again.
Come on, man. I can't do that. I mean,
what's the sense of having all these picks if this guy's going to suck?
Well, I said last night in my show, I had a draft show last night that I did, and it's called On the Clock. And I basically said, at this point, I need.
Whoa! You got a show and you didn't let me know about it so I could watch it?
Oh no, this is NBC Sports. It was NBC local.
What? I can't watch it on the website?
Oh, you probably could. My fault, Dan. My fault.
Yeah, let me know because I watched you when you did your Cuse game.
All
Thought
right.
you were awesome, man. Go
I
ahead, man. I'm
appreciate it,
sorry.
man. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
I'm going to support you all the time.
That's what I'm talking about, man. So, and I looked at it. I need more tangible assets instead of assets. I need people in the locker room as opposed to written down on paper where they're supposed to draft. It's all cute, fine, and dandy, but are we just giving up on this year? Are we just going out there just to prove it year? So that means the team is going to suffer because it's a prove it year for Hurts. You know, it's really starting to irritate me now that we're thinking that, all right, we just have a game plan just in case. That means you're not trying to win right now, even though, you don't have what you would term a throwing quarterback. You still need weapons out there at receiver to try to smooth a veteran quarterback to come in, or even help a quarterback next year to with a smooth transition into being a quarterback on this team. They have not enough tangible assets to be successful. They did nothing to get better this year from last year. I think they stayed even. And if you stay even, that means you're getting worse. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. Right now, they're even. So to me, that's getting worse, man. Everybody else is doing what they can to try to get better. Even Dallas, who lost, half their, 2/5 of their offensive. They lost 2/5 of their offensive line. They lost 2 key receivers, and with Wilson and Cooper. And yet they're still better than the Eagles on paper. They're still better than the Eagles on paper. So by
the way, I posted that article on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show. This is not me making those numbers up. And by the way, I went back and yesterday I threw this out at people. Do you know that the Eagles since 2000, they basically have a 19% success rate when it comes to drafting players? I mean, Barrett,
what?
Jesus criminy, man, 19%. That's 1.9 players out of 10 that you're landing on. So, like you said, with all of the and people are going, Sills, are you dumping it? No, what I'm pointing out is just because you have all these draft choices, this football team needs players, not picks.
Right.
Okay? I mean, you can have all the pick. Dude, how many years has the Jacksonville Jaguars picked either 1, 2, or 3 in the NFL?
Still not getting better.
In our lifetime, Barrett, in our lifetime, how many times do you see Jacksonville sitting at the top in the top 5,
right.
and they're still shit? Right? I mean, they're still. I don't know how Philly has won so much and dominated the NFC East. Been to 2 Super Bowls, won 2 NFC championships.
Well, you know what?
I just don't see how. I mean, they get so sidetracked. I mean, like I said, never 100 catch season by a wideout, 1 4,000-yard passer. And yet all this time, they are so desperately trying to get away from the number one thing that makes the Philadelphia Eagles who the Philadelphia Eagles are. They're a smash-mouth football team, and they freaking hate that. And it's almost like, Barrett, it seems to me that they fight that every year, that identity in Philadelphia. It's almost like the ownership, Jeffrey Lurie, hates that it's a tough guy brand of football, and he wants this grandiose. And instead, Mike Vrabel embraces it. He embraces that mentality. The city of Tennessee, Nashville, they embrace that mentality. And like you always say, Barrett, run the ball 200 yards on someone. Sills, what's that like? It's like surrendering. Okay? Throwing for 400 yards? I don't care. I could still win that ball game. You'll make a play. You'll throw it to somebody. I'll maybe in the game, and I can make something happen. When you're running the ball like that, time of possession, running people off the field. Dude, you're playing football like this. I got one arm behind my back. I can't do anything when you're killing me at the point of attack.
Yep.
But they fight this. They fight it every single year. Why?
It's the damnedest thing I've ever seen, because
it is.
Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, if you ask a fan in Philly, what do they love most? And what teams do they love most? They love those hard-nosed teams like the Buddy Ryan teams. They wanted that smash-mouth defense that was going to just, crush people. They love that attitude type of football, and that's what running the ball is. It's not passing the ball. You have blue-collar workers here in Philadelphia, people that go out there and make their money and the good old-fashioned way. They work for it, and they're not given an opportunity to really, succeed and really embracing that. They're not embracing it. Give me an opportunity to go out there and fight every single play. That's what I want. Fight every single play. And you can run the rock and do that. They just don't like it as an organization as a whole. They want to throw the ball. They want to be one of those guys that comes out the gate with 400-yard passer. So what? 400-yard passer. If you're not winning, it doesn't matter. You can win the game of football with running the ball if you're balanced and have a defense to help them out. And right now, we're not helping the defense enough.
Yeah, because you don't have enough players on that side of the ball. Look what Das says here. It's funny. I'm going to ask you this question. Nothing better than buddy ball. I didn't even care when we lost, but we beat people up. Let me ask you this, though, Barrett. It's funny you should say that because I just thought that while I was reading that there. You think the Philadelphia fan base, as much as they revere that 17 season, you think the teams that they revere the most are those Buddy Ryan gangrene defenses and those gangrene, the way they played the football and the way people looked at Philadelphia, the way people looked at that team? That team was an ass-kicking football team. I think they won the Triple Crown. Least amount of points given up. I think they had the least amount of rushing yards, passing yards. I think it was like one of those Triple Crown defenses, and I think they did it multiple years. They did that. Then they got beat at the Fog Bowl up in Chicago. But you think they look at those teams more, those gangrene teams, with more reverence than they do that 17 team? Well, maybe it's a dumb question. Super Bowl wins it. Maybe it trumps it.
Yeah, the Super Bowl, that was the pinnacle of Philadelphia, not just Philadelphia.
But I don't hear them talking about that team as much as I hear them talking about the buddy ball teams.
It's the team itself. When you hear more Nick Foles, you get that conversation, but not really the team as a whole. With Buddy Ryan and his way they played, they didn't win anything, but they just whooped people's ass, and they love that. They love, to them it really, they embraced it because it was what Philadelphia was. You know what I'm saying? It was Philadelphia at its finest. We're gonna go out there and we're not gonna talk about it. We're just gonna whoop you. We're gonna make you quit, and that's the way that defense played, man. Can you imagine? I mean, Jerome, Reggie, Clyde. You name it, man. Eric Allen,
Andre Waters.
I mean, come on, man. You know what I'm saying?
Eric Allen.
That's what you wanted, man. You wanted that hard-nosed, hardcore defense. Buddy Bowl. You know what I'm saying? Bounty Bowl was Buddy Bowl. You know what I'm saying? When he went out there, he put the what was it, the kicker? I forget what the kicker's name was. Put a bounty for Dallas. Put a bounty out
for the Cowboys. I forget the guy's name, but he put a bounty in. It was the Bounty Bowl.
Yeah, man. See that? You love that, man. You love that.
Hey, man, those games with Cowboys and Eagles, man, they were physical ball games, and those Eagle teams beat people up, man. Yep. Hey, you like some of the people were saying, man, you may have lost games, but man, you didn't lose the fight.
Right. Now, whoever they played was going to be on that
Luis
ice
Diaz. That's it.
Luis Diaz. Yep. He was on the Eagles the year before and
wasn't there a body bag game too?
That was against Washington. Yeah, was it Washington or the Giants? I think it was Washington. It was Washington.
Dude, you had names. The bounty game, the body bag game, dude. See, to me, I don't hear anybody talking like that. Listen, I get it. The chip comes in and you win the Lombardi. I mean, I get it. But you got body bag games.
Yes,
you can't talk like that in the NFL today, man.
Man, come on, man.
Bounty game,
bro. They were whooping that bounty bag game. Their big thing was, and Steph used to tell me this. Their big thing was, all right, hey fellas, we want to know who the backup quarterback is. We want to play against the backup quarterback today. And they would go in. That was their mindset going into the game. I want to know the name of the backup quarterback. I want to play against him because they knew they were going to knock the starter out of the game. I want to know who the backup quarterback. Imagine that type of mentality. That, hey, we trying to see the backup quarterback. Bro, That's
So
ferocious,
good.
man. You know what I'm
So
saying?
good, man. It's so gangster. I
Exactly.
just loved, and it didn't shock me that Philadelphia. You know what? I'm going to show you something here, Barrett. It didn't shock me that the Cowboys had the attitude and the persona that they had because Jimmy was there. He did it in Miami. And it didn't shock me that the Eagles had that mentality because Jerome was a part of that product. Reggie was not going to act like that.
Nope.
Reggie was like this guy. If you ever had a conversation, everybody, how you doing? Everybody, hey, God bless everyone. We love you. I'm going like, that dude right there is the greatest defensive lineman, maybe the greatest defensive player. God bless you, man, everybody. Come over here. We'll talk God. And that voice he had. You're sitting there going, that guy is a gangster, and he's like a preacher. He really was a preacher, by the way.
Oh, yes.
And he was an ordained minister. And so, like, he wasn't going to act like that. Jerome was going to act like that now. And that's what that attitude was, him and Seth.
Oh, yeah.
They set the tone. Hell, you talked to Seth today. What I tell you, Sileo, shit with man. I've been telling you that for. Hey, I got it. I understand it, man. I get it.
Bro. I mean,
shit, I've been telling you that for now 3 months, man. To get it through your head, I'm going, okay.
I think B. Mitchell, from Washington.
Brian Mitchell.
They beat up. They knocked all the quarterbacks out. He had to come in and play quarterback that game. And I think that Bounty Bowl game.
Dude,
no, not the Bounty Bowl game, but the body
great.
bag game. They had to bring in. He had to play quarterback because he played quarterback in college. He was a returner, really, and part-time running back. But he had to come in and play quarterback because they had knocked out like 3 quarterbacks in that game. 3. And then I see right there, look, Reggie White. They sacked Dallas's quarterback Troy Aikman. They sacked Troy Aikman 12 times in one game.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being an offensive line and you get your quarterback sacked 12 times?
Yeah. Hey, that's fact. I know that they were like, yeah, we beat the Cowboys up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it, man. I think Eagle fans revere those teams more than that 17 team. The 17 team will always have it over those teams because they won the Super Bowl. Yep. But the teams that city talks about are those Randall Cunningham and Reggie White teams for a reason, because there was an attitude and an identity. The Eagles, watch this. Here, tell me if you think they really have an identity. When you're trying to get, let's say you're trying to get the kid Williams from Alabama, and you got another guy on the perimeter over here, Devontae Smith. You got those 2 type of wide receivers who are kind of like deep threat guys and aren't going to block in the run game, and yet you have an offensive line who's one of the 2 best units. And you know what's funny? I said this yesterday to you. So the Colts and the Eagles have the 2 best O-lines, and I would say the Browns. Not one of those teams made the postseason last year. What's the point of having that unit when you're not going to be pushing your way into the playoffs because you don't have a quarterback? We all know that. That's a conversation we've had for months now. That's why the 49er teams, with their offensive line, they're probably in the top 5 too with their O-lines with Trent Williams. Would you agree?
Right.
Okay. But their quarterback makes plays for them and wins ball games for them. That's the difference between what happened in Indy and what happened in Philly. Is that, Philly makes the playoffs, but they get destroyed in the postseason game by the Buccaneers. They didn't move anything with these offensive lines. It really didn't do any point, even though you were a great running guy. You had a running back in Indianapolis that had 1,800 yards. You were the number 1 running team in the NFL in Philly, and he got destroyed in the game against the Bucs. I mean, what's the point of having a great O-line and then all of a sudden having an identity in the passing game where you've got, hey, to have deep threats, Barrett, you have to have a quarterback that can throw the ball deep. And they don't have that right now. So this team here, it doesn't have an identity. That 17 team, you know what it had? Next man up mentality. Didn't matter, right? You know that mentality. Quarterback goes down, who cares?
Yep.
Okay, let's go. Offensive linemen go. You told me that 17 team were playing musical chairs at the end of the season, moving dudes around so that they can win ball games because guys were injured in that O-line. Exactly.
They had. I mean, the best offensive lineman they had was at that time was Jason Peters, and he didn't play half the season. He was hurt half the season, and guys stepped up like Big V, Halapulu Vaitai. You know, he played at a great level. He played at a high level. They just, you know, called the offense around, you know, his shortcomings. You know, there was a lot of quick passes, and you know, the mere fact that they didn't have Carson. Now, a lot of people say, all right, well, you know, I don't know if they'd have won the Super Bowl if Carson. I believe they would have won because Carson was playing bananas. I mean, he was playing lights out that year, lights out. So you can't tell me they weren't going to be a team that's going to, you know, win the Super Bowl because he played even better than Foles did during that time he was playing. It just so happened fate had it that you know, Carson got hurt and Nick Foles came in and became the who they rallied behind. He answered the rallying cry and played phenomenally. You know what I'm saying? Played out of his mind. He played lights out. But I truly think if Carson was in there, he'd have won the Super Bowl also. It was fate, man. It was fate. Everything fell at the right time, in the right place. The stars, the moon lined up. You know, it was just their year, bro. It was just their year.
All right. I may be wrong on something you said yesterday, and I'm going to readdress this Brandon Cooks conversation that you brought up yesterday. Because I went back, Barrett, later in the day, and I looked at the numbers when you were barking at it, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong here, and I want to hit on that also. So Tyrann Mathieu, he went to, well, obviously, probably there's more. There's probably more something inside of his heart that he wants to go home and maybe play in New Orleans because here's a guy here that, you know, played his ball at LSU. So he went there and he visited Mickey Loomis and those guys. But he did something interesting yesterday, and he interviewed with the Philadelphia Eagles on a Zoom call. I want to get your thoughts on those two things. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. We really appreciate it. Hour 2's coming up. Keep it right here on the